but we're going to get started because we really have a lot here to share with you, and really want to welcome our farmers and give them each a chance to speak. And to try to introduce you to the reason we did this is that there's this misconception really that there are no farms in Putnam County. And in fact, there are lots of farms in Putnam County. And it's sort of a stereotypical image of a farm, I think sometimes does harm to the reality of farming, and that Putnam County farms, about 58% of them are under 20 acres. So you're not going to see a huge acreage with lots of heavy machinery and combines, but these are working farms that are producing food and produce for Putnam County and beyond. Like many other farms in the United States, 42% of Putnam County farmers are working a second or multiple job to make ends meet. And in Putnam County, we have slightly more livestock farms than we do produce farms or other commodities. And livestock could mean poultry, dairy, sheep, or goats, and horses. Of course, we do see a lot of horse farms in Putnam. And we're inviting our farmers here because farmers are good neighbors. We not only enjoy the fruits of their hard labors, but farms use fewer tax dollar services than, say, a similarly sized residential landscape. Farms require about 27 cents of tax dollars in tax services, whereas a residential property is up around $1.27, and those are figures from American Farmland Trust. So as we get started, I do want to introduce my co-host tonight, Tamara Tripp from Hudson Valley Mushrooms, and ask Tamara a few questions, a little bit about your mushroom CSA, because I got to know you by joining your CSA, and I really had a wonderful summer of mushrooms, shiitakes, and I just wanted to ask you, where did your journey start? How did you end up becoming a farmer in Putnam County?
So I actually grew up on a dairy farm in Minnesota. So I grew up on your traditional, very large farm, and I absolutely loved it. Even at the age of 15, I was featured in my local newspaper as the next generation of farmers. So, after taking a long journey, many years after, growing up on this dairy farm, I ended up in Putnam County, and my husband and I really just wanted to do something in agriculture, and growing log-grown shiitake mushrooms seemed to be the right thing for us. So that's what we're doing at Hudson Valley Mushrooms.
Great. Well, I can say that I have really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you're here. I know you're a great neighbor as well, and really thank you for putting this together and reaching out to farmers in Putnam to bring them here to our virtual. Maybe we're tired of saying virtual, to our table. Let's just say that. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're going to hop right in and talk with our first farmer on our list today. But before we start that, I would like to just share with you all a video of our first farm, which is Long Haul Farm. So bear with us as we switch through a few screens here. Okay, I'm just gonna load up.
I wanted to, I can set up a little bit of the video just to, and say hi to everybody and say thanks to Jen and Tamara for organizing this. We're happy to be here with our fellow Putnam County farmers. My name is Jocelyn, this is Jason.
Hello.
And we started Long Haul about 11 years ago. And if the video does start, I made it actually with a former employee at Cornell, and it was intended for school children. So I'm kind of explaining a little bit of the operation, and you might be able to tell from some of the things I say that, I'm referring to myself being the older generation, talking to the younger generation. And I'm wondering, Jen, do you think it's gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna share it now. Are you seeing it now?
I'm not. I see that you're screen sharing.
Oh, hey, hi.
It's our, if it doesn't work, we have the farmers actually on video here too, so
yeah,
we could always
yeah, so you're I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your farm story. So you mentioned a little bit about, could you mention where you're located, what you're growing, how long you've been farming in Putnam County?
Yes, thank you. I'll start.
Yeah.
So Jason actually grew up here in Garrison, and we live right next door to his parents. And we moved back here in 2011. Just a mini story. We actually got married here, and then Honey moved down to Argentina for a year and a half. And when we lived in Argentina, we stumbled upon a farm in Patagonia, so in the southern part of the country, and we happened to start to work. We both had quit our jobs prior to moving, and really were looking for something to satisfy something that was missing in our lives where we were living in New York City. And we realized that it was the physical labor, the connection to nature, the ability to produce something with our own hands. And it really changed our lives. So we moved back to this land, which is in his family, and have had a 7-acre plot. We farm vegetables on about an acre. We have livestock, which includes turkey, chickens, and pigs. And we run a small CSA model. I'm assuming that many people know what a CSA is, but I'll be the first one to just say it so no other farmer has to go through the definition, but it stands for community supported agriculture. And so neighbors buy a share of the farm's bounty for a season. It's a very good model for farmers because they can count on who is going to be paying into their season, over the winter as they're planning and crop planning. And then as the season progresses and things get grown, we share the bounty back to all the shareholders or the members of the farm. So probably many of you participate in CSAs already, and we thank you for being supporters.
I think the only thing that I would add from Jocelyn's story is what's funny is when we started the farm, we realized that the field that we currently farm and garden was our wedding parking lot. So unbeknownst to us, we compacted all of that soil because we did not know yet we would be moving back here. And Jennifer, to your point, the fact that farms in Putnam County are smaller, than other counties. We are a small farm, like Jocelyn mentioned, and so we practice really intensive planting techniques. And so I think it's surprising that on less than an acre of vegetable production, we have a CSA with 50 families in it, and then we also have a donation program, which I'll talk about. But you can get a lot of produce out of a small amount of land, planted and tended regeneratively.
Yeah.
Great. Another question is, can you just share with us some of the joys and challenges of farming?
Yes, a joy of farming is that you love the seasons. I mean, everyone is complaining about snow right now, or complaining about it being cold, and complaining about maybe being holed up, well, not COVID related hold up, just winter related hold up. And to us as farmers, at least the way we farm, we love winter. It is a break. It lets us reset. We don't have to challenge ourselves in all the different directions that we do during the farm season, because like Jen mentioned, we also have several jobs off of the farm. And so this really creates a space for us to kind of think and plan. And then it makes us love spring even more when it finally pops up. So we really do love watching the ebb and flow of how the natural world progresses.
I would say on a challenge side, I don't think I will ever look at the stone walls of Putnam County again the same. I mean, when you clear land for vegetable production, which thankfully we were 10 years younger at the point, but you're really pulling a lot of rocks out of the ground to clear land for vegetable production. And it does make me feel connected to a long heritage of farming, to look at these massive stone walls and realize how many generations of families were doing that work. And then I think a joy to me, especially I think we think about it with COVID when we're all kind of more isolated from each other. but having a farm open to the community just connects you. I've never known so many people like on my street or in my community, because there are always people coming onto the farm, and it kind of changes the way you live in that way, in a way that I think is really joyful.
Love it. Well, I'm going to ask one last question, actually, because I do want to give us a chance to see if we can watch that little bit of a video. I think it's very helpful and visual for people to see your farm as well. How can we support, as purchasers, neighbors, residents, how can we support your farm, and really where can we buy your products? How can we get involved?
Thanks for asking that. First, I would say you can support us as a farmer writ large by supporting any of the local farms that are near you, whether it be Putnam County, or if you're joining from someone else, or telling your neighbors or your family members in other parts of the state to also support buying directly from farmers. So we have our CSA, like we said, and we have a small livestock operation. And in fact, for us, we sell out and fill up around now because we are so tiny. But we do know that there are many other vegetable CSAs in Putnam County that people can still have access to and join. And in fact, Hudson Valley CSA Coalition and the localharvest.org websites really are a way for you to go in and see what local farms are around and what types of products they're offering. Anything you'd want to add?
I think I would just add, Jen, to your point, most farmers probably on this call have other work that they do besides farming, and that's true for us. We have a small nonprofit called the Ecological Citizens Project, which is really tied to our farm. We donate. We have an apprenticeship program that we launched last summer that trains farmers and then connects them to land. So we helped start 2 farms, one in Peekskill and one in Newburgh, to establish urban farms. And then anybody who supports our nonprofit and our farming work is helping us donate food, which we really ramped up during COVID-19 to Putnam partners like Second Chance Food and the Putnam Valley Free Library and the Phillipstown Food Pantry. So those are all kind of partners we distribute food to.
And you can find us on Instagram at Long Haul Farm, or the website is, I think it's longhallny.com.
Or ecologicalcitizens.org.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for letting us join you all, esteemed farmers.
Oh, that's awesome. No, really appreciate that. And let me try once again to try to share this video with you. So I think it's lovely to see and really understand what your farm is like, and helpful for folks to see it.
My name is Jocelyn Apicello, and I live and work on Long Haul Farm in Garrison, New York. Here on Long Haul Farm, we grow a lot of different types of vegetables. We also raise chickens, both for meat and for eggs, and we have pigs. Our pigs love to eat kitchen scraps and things like that. So we actually have our neighbors bringing us buckets of all the stuff that they have left over in their kitchen, and we feed that to the pigs, and they love it. We got these turkeys that are behind me when they were 1 day old back in June. And we get them at that time of year because we like to take care of them and help them grow, so that we can then have them ready for Thanksgiving, which, as we know, the tradition for many families in this country on Thanksgiving is to share a turkey with their family and friends.
Thank you so much. I know I kind of cut you off in the middle of that there, but did want to just give people a chance to see it and see the farm, because right now in the middle of winter, we really need a little green and growing. So thank you.
So I'll jump in here. So Jen, so I'm gonna take our next farmer. Her name is Lydia Langley, and she's from Cat Rock Egg Farm. Lydia, we're super excited to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me be part of your wonderful, diverse panel of small farmers here in Putnam County. It's an honor.
Awesome. So we do also have a video for Lydia. So I don't know, Jen, if you want to try to set that one up now or try in a little bit. So Lydia, Lydia and I have known each other for a couple of years now, and you've been just really helpful to me, even in starting our farm journey here in Putnam County. So I'd love to hear from you. Can you just, tell us more about your story? Where are you located? What are you growing? You saw a little bit of that in the photos. And how long have you been farming in Putnam County?
We started with chickens. We're located in Garrison, a little bit north of Jason and Jocelyn, actually. So we're probably part of that old network of farmers. Our property is on an old estate, part of an old estate. So it's never been anything else except a farm for the larger house that is located on the expansive property. We started about 11 years ago after moving back from North Carolina. We were fortunate enough to have barns already in place. So they seemed a little devoid of life, and we decided to get some chickens and have our own eggs. And we then loved having the chickens so much and the joy that they brought to the property that we got more chickens. And then of course, eventually we had more eggs, and we reached out to friends to see if they would be interested in having eggs from pet hens, which are raised with love and care and are able to live out their whole lives with us. We don't turn our flock over. So however long they choose to be here, they were here. So it just grew from that. It's called chicken math. You just can't stop buying chickens. And eventually we branched out into ducks, quail, turkey, and guinea fowl. It's just been an amazing experience to have them and be a part of something larger than ourselves.
Yeah. I have to say that I love Lydia's packaging. I think it's some of the most beautiful. I don't know if you have any to show us. I think you saw it in the photos, but
yeah, you can look on my Instagram.
Yeah,
I have lots, and on Facebook for both pages. It's the Cat Rock Egg Farm, and you'll see lots of photos.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, so tell us, Lydia, we asked Jason and Jocelyn, but what are some of your joys of farming, and what are your challenges that you have?
The joy is sharing with the community. We primarily sell to friends and friends of friends. We don't have a formal operation. It's usually word of mouth and social media. We've gotten lots of customers that way. Some of the heartache, of course, when you're working with livestock, things happen. We have predators at times, and sometimes they get them. But we say in order for them to enjoy freedom, freedom isn't free. And we want them to have a good quality of life. So we provide outdoor access for them and let them live their lives and scratch and eat bugs and just enjoy. And one of the other things that I really, really enjoyed was actually hatching out our own eggs and trying to create a program of very unusual colored chicken eggs. That was extremely rewarding. I got to a really great point with that. And now we're just enjoying the fruits of our labor and looking forward to spring so that the girls and the boys can go back out and do what they do best and enjoy their time here and eat bugs and make delicious eggs.
Yeah, I love it. Well, tell me too, Lydia, did you have to pivot in any way during this last year with COVID, just in your farm or sales that you saw?
I would say the biggest challenge of COVID would be to meet the demand. Our supply is very limited. Our flock is getting older. So to meet the demand, it was hard. You have to learn how to negotiate well and make a list and make sure you reach everybody on that list and do the best you can. And it's been a really good experience to have people who would normally eat out really want to employ our eggs in their baking or in their dinner making and really focus on the ingredient and share their pictures, which I love when somebody makes something with our eggs, eggnog, cakes, frittatas, whatever they make, and they share the pictures. We find a lot of pride and joy in that because we know that they're enjoying using our eggs and they like to save them for some reason. They don't want to use them sometimes because they say they're so pretty, but I say, don't worry, they're hopefully always more.
I love that. Well, Lydia, I know you said you sell the friends and neighbors, just, what can other folks in Putnam County do to support you or how can we buy your eggs?
Just the best way of support, as Jocelyn and Jason mentioned, is just to support someone else. If I don't have a product available, find another local person who does. Sometimes we have garlic, sometimes we have maple syrup, sometimes we have honey. It just depends. Those things are very hard to count on at times. But if I don't have it for you, I recommend somebody else who does, just to support local.
Yeah.
You're saving also in buying eggs from a backyard enthusiast such as myself. You're saving a factory hen from a terrible, terrible life. And that to me is like super important, is the ethics of raising chickens. Like I said, they live their whole lives out with us. And it's really important to me that they are treated as our pets.
Yeah, that's great. Lydia, thank you for all you do. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Tamara.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think just I'll say to the everybody's joining us, also if you do have specific questions for any of the farmers, feel free to add it into the chat throughout the event. You're welcome to do that as well. So Lydia, thank you so much. And Jen, you're welcome. Yeah. Jen, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Yeah, and I mentioned earlier, some of you joined us a little bit later, that we will also send you an email with a link to a survey where we can collect your thoughts and ideas and questions that we can then share with farmers as well. So with that, I'd like to introduce Christian Privetto from Pro Brothers Farm. Hi, Christian.
Hey, everybody.
Or Chris. Hi. I'm like
totally fine.
Chris, fine. Okay, good. I'm going to share your video. So just give me a moment. Zoom can be a little bit tedious with these back and forth, but here we go. So Christian, some questions. Can you tell us your farm story, where you're located, a little bit about what you're growing and how long you've been farming in Putnam County?
Sure. First, I just want to thank everybody, you and Tamara, for hosting the event, and everybody else for taking the time to come listen to us speak. And it's been awesome getting to know the previous farmers. And we are very new farmers on the scene. So I guess we can start there. So we're kind of proud and honored to be joining this close-knit community. And I'd say that's one of the joys of farming, just to skip ahead. So we've probably been farming for a little under 2 years now. We had our first full season last year. And I was a teacher first, and our kids were, school-aged, preschool, getting ready for school. And through work, I kind of had this sort of life change realization that the public school sort of arena wasn't the best one for what I was trying to do as a teacher. And at the same time, we didn't really want to, put our kids in the school. So we realized that because we both had jobs outside of the home, that if that's what we were going to do, we'd have to figure out how to, make a living at home. And we talked about starting a music school because I was teaching music, and that's one of my passions. But we realized with the kids at their age, it wouldn't be logistically possible because someone would have to be at the store. It was a much bigger investment cost. And I guess the other sort of side story is that why I started growing food was just when we started to have kids, and you think about what you're putting in your body and what you're going to be, feeding your kids. We just started to rethink that whole, thing when you start to realize that, when you're younger, you don't really think about those things. And so we started a small garden box when we first moved to Putnam County in 2013. And it very quickly grew to about 250 square feet, and about between 15 or 16 garden boxes of various sizes, and it was just a hobby, and a passion that kept growing. And we never ever thought about farming or even producing for anybody other than ourselves and our friends. Along that journey of just learning how to grow food, I discovered, I'm sure most of you know, Curtis Stone, the urban farmer. And, he kind of inspired me to just think about, I related to his story because he was a musician, and he kind of had a similar path of coming to appreciate growing food. So we decided that that might be a good goal to accomplish our goal of keeping our kids out of school. And pursuing another side story. My father and grandfather had a business growing up, and it was an auto parts store down in southern Westchester. And pretty much my entire childhood, I just thought that's what I would do. I would do the auto parts store because that's what we did. And they sold it when I was in high school, and it was kind of like a earth-shattering sort of realization. And like most suburban kids, I just kind of went to college, picked a major, didn't really consider what the future would be like, and very quickly dropped out of college and worked for a while, and realized I didn't want to do that. So I went back to school and became a music teacher. But having kids forced me to realize that I didn't really want to do that either, in the sense that what we were doing, it didn't work with what our goals as a family were going to be. So we kind of had to call an audible and change paths. And we started just in the garden, selling to a local chef in town. Just kind of, we were his customer. And Wandering Dave's, out in Brewster, he was kind of a farm to table restaurant, and we kind of let him try our stuff, and he said it was good. So we're like, all right, maybe we could do that. And so we invested a little bit of money and turned the backyard to, it's pretty much just It's like 1/10 of an acre maybe, so it's very, very small. But like Jason said, you can get a lot of produce out of a small area if you do it right, and that's kind of our goal. We did till up initially to kind of break that soil up and dig out all those rocks. I was laughing and relating to that story.
Yeah.
But when one of the joys, though, I did have an experience digging out the rocks. It was, it was like a long, hot summer day, and I was like, it's like the fourth bed that I was digging, like, it was like mounds of rocks, and I had the sort of realization or feeling that I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. So there is that connection, and I know I'm a little scattered here, just
No.
nervous talking, but back to one of the reasons why we started growing food. We did it just to try it at first and didn't really know what we were getting into, and the first season was a failure. But this might sound cliche, but any of you watching who have grown food, the first time you see a seed pop out of the ground, or a seed pod, it does something to you, like, and it starts you like thinking and down this journey of like how food grows, and it makes us grow, and like coming to the career sort of change realization was like me kind of growing. So our tagline is like, keep growing, because we're growing food and we're growing humans and we're growing ourselves, and so
Right.
that's kind of like our story. And what do we grow? We grow a lot of our plan was to grow, I guess I'll kind of answer both questions. How
Okay.
did we ask the pivot question yet? No, I'm sorry. But we started out growing.
There's another question coming up.
We're going to grow just greens and try to market ourselves to like chefs, kind of like the Curtis Stone playbook. And we were doing that for a while. And then when COVID came, there was like an increased demand for local food. And we were like, all right, let's do the CSA. And we had kind of had that in our plan down the road, but being new farmers, we knew it was probably not a good idea to start out growing, 15 different crops and several different varieties. But we did it, and we had 12 people. We break it up into 3 separate seasons, so it's not like a large commitment. So we have 2 12-week seasons, a 10-week season, and then the winter is a little longer. So that's what we grow. Pretty much everything,
Right.
a lot of different greens, specialty greens, all sorts of fruiting crops, and we grow a lot of different varieties, because that's one of the other things that, got me more interested in growing food, was just like how, the plethora of different types of vegetables and varieties that, growing up, never heard of and never knew
Right.
of. So.
Well, watching that video with you, we got to see a little bit of what you were growing. But one of the other things we saw you growing were children there, and that leads me to my next question, and that is, what are some of the joys of farming, and what are some of the challenges you have in farming?
Well, you saw the joy is sharing it with them, and trying to pass on something to them that has meaning and value beyond words, really. And the challenge is sort of balancing it all, because we decided to homeschool them. My wife has an off-farm job, although she works from home. Just kind of managing the schedules. I'm up pretty early, and then I come in when she kind of starts work, and we try to tag team it that way. And it's definitely a team effort, and I couldn't do it without her. But that is probably the biggest joy, is sharing it with the kids.
Yeah. Yes. And I just wanted to ask, you did talk a little bit about COVID and how you responded to COVID.
Yeah. So we continue to do the CSA this year. We call it a veggie box because we had a couple of neighbor issues, and there was some concern about the name being called a CSA. So we just switched it up to kind of, squash any confusion.
Right. Okay.
But so if you're looking for it on our website, it's called a veggie box, and it explains that it's just basically a CSA. But we deliver. It's kind of a little bit different, and it's broken up into 3 separate seasons. So.
Wow. Okay. And as we've asked all of our other farmers as guests, how can we support your farm and other small farms in our area? How can we how can we buy your products or get involved?
Well, if you want to buy from us, you can just contact us directly and either sign up for the veggie box, or we do have an online farm store where we just do like local home delivery. If you just want to shop for what's available, on a week, it changes weekly based on, kind of what's extra left over from the veggie box deliveries.
Great.
And like everybody else said, you can just research your local farms and, support them as much as possible.
Great. Thank you. Really appreciate you,
Thank you.
coming on tonight and sharing your thoughts and time with us.
Great. So, next up we have Julie Noble from Space on Ryder Farm, and Julie is the new farm director at Space on Ryder Farm, right here in Brewster. Julie, welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's really awesome to get to know what people are growing, their methods, a little bit more about motivations going into farming, and most of all, how other people in the community can support what we're doing to strengthen local food.
Yeah.
I just want to say right beforehand that the video that you're going to see is from 2019. And I actually was the farm director in 2019, left last year, and then I'm back now. So a lot of the information isn't quite up to date, but I can clarify afterwards.
No, great. Well, Julie, I'm back. I'm glad that you're back. So Jen, do you want to try to share that video?
There we go.
It's important for Ryder Farm to be successful for the success of Space. Space and Ryder Farm are linked in such an intimate way. So we are a working farm, certified organic. We're growing about 6 acres of diversified vegetables. Most of the people that shop with us because we are certified organic, and they're really looking for no-spray vegetables that are grown in a sustainable way.
We are making a commitment to continue and grow and be better with the people that have been coming here for 40 years.
We have a CSA, so that stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and we have about 140 members between Brewster and New York City. And 2 things that make our CSA unique: one is sliding scale, so that all members of the community can take part in it if they so wish. Actually, 16% of the shares are fully subsidized. And the second thing is that they also get a monthly share of art.
So Julie, a lot of folks maybe are familiar with Ryder Farm, but could you just give us a very brief history about Ryder Farm?
Sure. Ryder Farm is one of the oldest continuously owned in the same family farms on the East Coast. And we do believe that it's the oldest in Putnam County as well. The Ryders began as tenant farmers in 1792, and then were able to purchase the farm. And so relatives of the Ryder family have been continuously farming the land since then. So in the 70s, Betsy Ryder and her cousin Hall Gibson both had operations on the farm growing organically, which was one of the first bigger farms on the East Coast to use organic methods. And Betsy started selling at Green Market in the early 70s as well, as one of the founders of the Union Square Green Market. So Betsy retired in 2018. And at that point, Space on Ryder Farm, which is a Ryder Cousins project, which is an artist residency. In season, we host up to 150 artists who apply to come to the farm for a week and work on their stuff free of charge, room and board supplied. So she started that 11 years ago. So with Betsy's transition to retirement, Space decided as a nonprofit to take over the agricultural operation. So that was in 2019. So I was there during that transition. Now in 2020, we are doing a CSA, which we've also rebranded. from a CSA, which is kind of hard and clunky to explain to people. And now we're calling it a harvest club. So with that, we have a lot of different facets, but the Ryder Farm, the property is still in the Ryder family as a corporation made up of about 80 Ryder family members. So it's very interesting, but the Ryders still have a huge part in the property. Betsy and John still live there. Cousin Julia moved to the property last year during COVID, and a cousin named Alan keeps his sheep there mostly to train his border collies.
Oh, great. So tell us, I did know that there was a shift. So, I mean, are there any kind of differences or changes that you guys have made since Space took over, and what are those?
Sure. Since we're a nonprofit with an arts focus, we have within our Harvest Club facet, which is art. So we our CSA is 18 weeks, and every month, 4 times, our members will get an art drop, and it consists of 2 to 4 original artworks made for the CSA, for the Harvest Club. So, so last year we were able to we didn't do residencies because of COVID. So instead we supported artists by giving out cash grants to former artists, as well as commissioning original pieces of art to give out with our shares.
Yeah.
And another thing that's different from when Betsy or Hall were doing their CSA at Ryder Farm is that we are sliding scale. And so people can self-select the income level that they have and choose a price point that feels good to them. And then for people who are food insecure, they can self-select to try to become a subsidized member of the CSA. And so we do that through a program called Friend of the Harvest, where someone will buy a CSA for themselves and then buy it for somebody else. And so last year we did about 60 fully subsidized shares, which we also offered free delivery of those shares. So this year we're looking to subsidize 81 families with the food that we grow.
That's amazing. And that's, yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's, it's families right here in Putnam County, right?
Yes, Putnam County and Westchester, we partnered with a couple of different organizations to understand who is food secure in our community and how we can reach out to them. So we do serve kind of a larger Spanish speaking only population. So for that, we were able to also secure funds to translate all of our art to Spanish as well to provide to that community, because sometimes there's a lot of artists who are playwrights who come to Space. So we give out plays and things have to be translated. So
yeah,
it's been a really good partnership.
Well, I know that I'm missing all the on-farm activities and I can't wait until they happen again. But just, you mentioned already a number of things, but just other, ways that you guys had to pivot, during COVID and this year, what has changed and, what can folks expect? And I guess just in asking that question too is, yeah, just how else, can we support you, buy your products? Just kind of give us a little more about that too.
Thanks, Tamara. Well, one thing that we switched to instead of having people kind of big open hours for people to come and pick up their share, we did a drive-through system. And so people could come and we'd hand them the bag or put it into their trunk. And that we use a scheduling system for. And then if people miss their pickup, they can pick up their share in a designated cooler. So it was really hands-off and people felt pretty safe about that situation. We also offer pickup on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So there's flexibility there. And then if people don't pick up their share, we donate to Second Chance, which is an awesome organization that another farmer had mentioned. And they take gleaned farm goods and turn them into prepared meals for the community. So that's really pretty cool. So yeah, so to support space, I urge you to go to our website, which is spaceonriderfarm.org. And there you can see our Friend of the Harvest program. You can see all the different options that we're offering for the Harvest Club. We're also offering, which I'm really excited about because I love them, we're doing a bouquet share of flowers for pickup on Saturdays. And then we're also partnering with Hudson Valley Mushrooms to offer an add-on to your share, which is mushrooms that you can pick up on Saturday. So you can do, as well, you can do the art as a standalone thing and we'll ship it to anywhere in the nation. So, you know, if people are interested in supporting this system, but they don't live around here or something, then they can support that way. Yeah, and so signups start on the 10th of March. And then also at the end of May for 2 weekends, we're doing a big seedling sale, which is also a very hands-off, contactless kind of thing where you order online the seedlings that you want and then come pick them up at the farm. And then last year we were able to finagle a way that felt safe for everyone to have volunteers come out and help on the farm during big planting times, harvesting times, you know, just to connect and plug in because it's a beautiful property. It's 127 acres. It borders Peach Lake. This year we will have residencies that are much longer with much less people. So that's going to be going on too. So you know, our Harvest Club is a good way to plug into beauty and culture and helping to feed people in your community too.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, I appreciate the shameless plug of the add-on mushrooms from Hudson Valley Mushrooms.
We're so excited.
That's good. Yeah, we've been partnering with Space on Rider Farm for a couple of years, and you know, we're small and growing, so it's been really great. Yeah. Julie, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, I know that a lot of CSAs in our area have already sold out. You know, if you can get your hands on one of those shares at Space or at Jason and Jocelyn's farm, I highly, or Chris, encourage everyone to definitely, you know, get a spot.
And Tamara, don't forget to share with us how we could check out your CSA as well. And I really appreciate, you know, it's amazing to have fresh food, amazing to have that moment where you hand off that fresh food, socially distant or otherwise, from somebody you know and have met. So thank you. So yeah, let us know how we can also find yours as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. So on our website, hudsonvalleymushrooms.com, and I'll drop it in the link, but we also have a small CSA from our own place, and then we're partnering with Space on Rider Farm and another farm up in Dutchess County, and we will possibly even have a pickup location in Cold Spring. So exploring as many options as possible.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. Well, Jen, I know we weren't originally planning on, but did you want to try to take any quick live questions from guests? Or
we can also scroll through and share some of the questions that were typed into the chat box. If you all have some time, would we like to do that? And I don't mind reading them out, and then as we get closer to the bottom, we can start taking them live. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, because there were some questions up earlier. One was, okay, it's just funny because Putnam County is rocks, rocks, rocks. You know, we've all had this experience, whether we're gardeners or farmers. And one of the questions was like, how do you deal with rocks? And anybody could really answer that. It's a perennial, pardon the pun, problem. Anybody have any creative ideas to share?
I'll take I've spent I'm sure like everybody else on this call, Chris and Julie, have spent an unusual amount of time thinking about rocks. And here would be my advice on dealing with rocks. 1, you can pull them out of the ground. 2, I would say you can just build your bed up. So you could do lasagna method, or you could put compost and cardboard and organics and just grow your garden space above the surface. And then those rocks will probably loosen as the soil kind of rots down and come up with frost. And then I think the third is where we've ended up. We used to be so intense about getting all the rocks out. And now we've learned to leave some rocks in the bed space and just, they've been there a long time, they're big, and we just plant perennials around them, like chives or rhubarb, and we just let them be, and they become a permanent part of our garden, and we use them to walk over and jump off of.
Anybody else want to share any thoughts about creative things that they are dealing with these rocks?
Yeah, I put buckets kind of around our growing spaces. So when somebody comes to a rock, they can put it somewhere. Also, rocks are really good for holding down cover tan, which is row cover for frost protection, season extension. It's like a spun polyester that makes the crops under the environment under it a couple of degrees warmer. So good in those early and late season things. And then getting to Jason's point about kind of like leaving things in place. Like, there's a lot going on under the soil that we're not privy to. So I feel like maybe there's communities of critters or fungi or something around the rocks that maybe you shouldn't disturb sometimes too. So it's definitely a case by case situation. And it really depends on your tillage method and the time that you have and, where you want to put your energy too.
Great. And we had another question in the chat, unless anybody else wants to chime in about rocks, and that was for the long haul crew. What inspired you to Argentina, to go to Argentina? Was it long haul? Did you guys? Was it?
We did. Yep, we did mention it.
One of the
So what inspired us in Argentina? I mean, I would probably say that, I think sometimes there's a big broad generalization. I think sometimes like an American approach is to have a vision of something and want it all right away at the same time. So like to put in your entire farm in 1 or 2 seasons. And I feel like in Argentina, because a lot of farmers had a lot less capital and land, they were just it was very much more incremental building. So like, building your space out because that's what you can do in 1 season and then adding to it. I think that it takes some of the pressure off. And for small gardeners just starting, it is nice to know that you can start with your first plot, tend it well, and then next season add to it. And like over the course of a couple of years, build out to something that you didn't expect.
Yeah. That's great.
I'll jump in here. I know there was a question early on about just pests and dealing with pests. So we grow log run mushrooms, so our pests are slugs, and we just try to do everything we can to keep them off. But I'm sure some of our vegetable farmers have some other ideas of how they deal with pests.
Well, we take the sort of whole sort of picture approach, and I kind of think of it like being a music teacher and a musician. You're kind of balancing many different elements to sort of work together to accomplish, a sum greater than the whole of their parts thing. And, so we plant all sorts of different perennial flowers and herbs to attract beneficial predator bugs and deter and confuse, bug pests. And then we also bring in lots of beneficial predator bugs to sort of create this sort of ecosystem that kind of takes care of itself, so we don't have to really do too much to, we don't spray anything at all. We all also sort of organic, and and it takes time to get there, so and another sort of thing that helps is you just have to learn how to live with them sometimes, because they're there too, and they're part of the ecosystem, and they got to eat. So trap cropping works with that. You kind of give them something to eat, so you don't have to worry about them eating what you want to eat,
That's great.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Chris said about, kind of learning to live with them. I think, we kind of have to get people used to real vegetables have holes in them sometimes. They're not going to be like the perfect thing that you find at Walmart, or somewhere else, And there is a lot of waste that goes on vegetable farms because things aren't perfect. But I think things like box delivery, things like Misfits, which is like a service that delivers, produce that's not just up to snuff to your door for a cheap discount, helps educate the public that real food isn't perfect. There's nothing really perfect in nature. Also, I just wanted to touch upon what I said also about rocks holding down row cover. Row cover is an exclusionary method. And so it keeps it's a barrier against those bugs coming on. So for me, in the early spring and in the fall, I have a lot of pest pressure with flea beetles, and those are the ones that make the tiny, tiny pinholes in your mustards and in your arugula and things. So if you cover those things when they're very tiny, and then once they get up to a manageable size, they can resist that pest pressure a lot more. Also, what keeps bugs away a lot of times is a very healthy plant. And so if everything's balanced within your plant, then hopefully you won't have as much pressure, but.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Same for us, we cover logs and then the pests stay off. So just, cover your products, your produce as much as possible. Jen,
I have a quick question. Sure.
Yeah.
So Lydia, a question for you, and it relates to composting or fertilizing, but what do you do with your manure and feathers and all the stuff you end up taking out of your poultry house? Oh, wait, we need you to unmute. Sorry, if you're muted. Let's see if we can get you unmuted.
Is that better?
There you go. Beautiful, thank you.
We have not only coops, but we have 19th century barn stalls. So we have a lot of manure and we make a compost pile and we'll use it. We let it sit out. It just depends. They dig a lot. And over the course of the last 10 years, especially around the stalls, they've really started to undermine the stability of the barn in certain areas. So we often just add it back on the ground to kind of make up for it. But we've had probably at least a good 6 inches or so, probably scratched into oblivion in that particular area. But in the other areas, when we take it out, we'll put it in a compost pile, and we're starting up a new garden this year. So we'll be using that along with the cardboard.
Awesome. Oh yeah, great. All right.
Good use for those Amazon boxes.
Oh, we all have piles, I think.
Well, this is great. So I think, Jen, I know you have a survey you want to include in the chat, and I'm sure you'll send to folks afterwards, but we're just so grateful for everyone for joining us tonight. To our farmers, thank you for sharing your stories, for being here, and, producing food for all of us in the community. And we're so grateful. And everyone, again, for joining, just thank you. And I don't know if there's anything else, Jen, we wanted to leave people.
That's it, really. Thank you to all of you and your farmers and our farmers. And really one of the lovely things about this is we can see that this is community as well in this time when we're far away from each other. But here we have an opportunity for community and the relationships that we build with each other. So thank you all for being part of this.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great season, everybody.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye.
Be well, stay safe.